Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my Twitch stream. My name is Andrew Turley. Today we are going to be talking some more about Pony FFI. FFI is the foreign functioned interface. It lets you. Uh oh. Sorry. It lets you call call C functions and interact with C functions from Pony. So let's take a look. So the last couple of streams, we played around a little bit with FFI. We looked at how to call functions and how to pass different types of data back and forth between Pony and C. So today I just want to play around a little bit with some libraries that are out there and see if we can get some things working. So nothing too amazing. You can just kind of watch as I succeed or don't succeed in calling some stuff from Pony. So let's start with something that might be kind of interesting. Let's take a look at embedding Lua in Pony. So in my day job, I have done some work with getting Python and Pony to run together, and that has been interesting. So hopefully this won't be that much different, but let's take a look. I haven't really done much work with Lua, so this is an experiment. We'll see how it goes. So let's start by setting up main.pony and use lib Lua let's see what I have installed. Lua 5.3. Let's give that a shot. And we'll create our main actor. Main function. So I was digging around a little bit to figure out how to see if we could figure out how to embed some Lua. Found some pretty simple stuff. So let's start with this. Looks like this gives us a Lua interpreter. So this is some C code, so we'll translate it into some Pony code. So first thing we do is we call this Lua al new state function. And so we put the at the beginning to let Pony know that this is an FFI call. And we're going to return a pointer U8. And doesn't take any arguments. And then we will I guess be good citizens here and close it. So this program doesn't really do much of anything. It starts up a Lua interpreter and then closes it. So let's build it and make sure that it builds, and then try running it and make sure it doesn't crash. So pony C, run it with the debugger. Oh, okay. So FFIs without declarations must supply or must specify return type. So I didn't specify the return type here at the call site. So let's do that. I'm going to say that it returns none. Try that again. Okay. And it ran and it didn't crash. So that seems like we're off to a great start, right? Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit and see what they tell us to do next here. Okay, so it looks like we can load in some standard libraries to the interpreter that we've got, and then we can load a file and we can run the file. So this program looks pretty straightforward. Let's give it a shot, see if we can do something like this. So I think we'll want to make a call like this on our state object. Again, this doesn't return anything, so say none. It's the return type. And then we want to load a file. So again, we can call something kind of like this. Okay, so what are we going to have to do to make this work with Pony? So first let's do a let. And we're going to tell it that this thing returns an I32, which should match up with the fact that this thing is an integer in the C code. And we're going to pass it our Lua state and then a file name. Oh, and since this is a FFI call, we need the @ symbol in front of this. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do something a little bit different here. So let's, what should we do here? Let's try this. First, let's get the file name from the command line. So we're going to get the first argument from the command line. And we've got a question mark here because this is so args is an array. And accessing an array index can raise an error if you go past the end of the array. So we want to handle the error. Let's just print out an error message. And we'll return. And we should be able to do this. So you can return an exit, non-zero exit code by doing this. I think it's this. Maybe there's not an underscore. Let's build this and see what happens. Exit code with no underscore. file, load file. Undefined symbol. Uh-oh. How old is this? Ooh, this is old. Updated 2016. Interesting. Okay. Let's see, how are they compiling this? So they're using this Lua. Should I be doing that? Maybe if I just try liblua? It seems odd. Don't expect this to work. Let's see what happens. Okay, so that function should be somewhere. Did I type that wrong? Do I have some syntax error that I'm just not looking at here? Okay, so now we get to start doing some fun stuff. So I have a theory about what could be going on. If you think you know what's happening, go ahead and tell me what you think. Any theories? Any ideas? Don't I need to use an at? I think I've got an at here. So the question was, don't you need to use an at? I've got the at there. That should be doing the right thing. So the error is that the linker can't find this function name. Okay, so here's my theory. And I saw this a few times in Python, which is why I think this could be what's going on. Lua-L load file isn't a function. It's defined with a define at up top. Up here, so the only other thing that I could do is I could do something like this. Elmatic, I'm not sure if this is what you mean. I could do... Yeah, so I'm using at Lua-L load file here. What I could do is I could define... I could give the types up here, but all that would do is make it so that I didn't have to put that I32 down there. But I could do this. But I think that it's still not going to be able to find the symbol. We'll get to that in a minute. So I think what's going on is that it's not able to find this thing because it's defined in define rather than being an actual function. So if I search for it, I didn't even find it. Huh. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So Lua-L load file is actually defined as a call to Lua-L load file x with the last argument being filled in with null. So what that means is that there's not actually a symbol for Lua-L load file. And so what we have to do instead is call Lua load file x on its own. And so this happens a lot. You'll be reading some C documentation and it'll tell you, hey, use this function to do this thing. And it turns out that it's actually telling you to use something that's been defined with a define in a header file. And so again, there's no symbol for it, so the compiler can't find it. So what we actually want to do is Lua-L load file x, and I'm gonna I'm just going to keep using this syntax here. I'm just going to keep putting the signatures in line for now. And then we want a pointer U8. This should give us a null pointer. And so now there's one other issue that we need to be aware of. And that is this file name. So right now file name is a pony string. And what we actually want is a C string. So let's take a look at the string class in Pony. So Pony gives you some ways of moving back and forth between C strings and Pony strings. Last time, or one of the last streams, I talked a bit about some of these functions that let you take a C string and create a Pony string from it. So there is also a C pointer and C string functions that return strings that you can use to call into C. So we're going to call C string, and that's going to give us a C pointer, which is what Lua is going to expect. Okay. So let's build this and see if this builds. It builds. Okay, great. Okay, so do they have a Lua program for us to run? This looks like a Lua program, I guess. That looks promising. Okay, so let's put that into a Lua file. All right, so we've got our Lua program that we want to run. Again, do hello Lua, it works. And if we do Lua Pony, hello Lua, okay, so it blew up. So what did we do wrong? Oh, well, first of all, we closed our interpreter before we used it here. So let's maybe move that down, that call to close down to the end. Let's try that again. Okay. It ran and it didn't output anything. Okay, so I think that's because we just loaded the file. Yeah, okay, so we loaded the file. So the next thing then that we need to do is run it. So we need to do this Lua P call. So let's copy this into our Pony program. Call this thing result2. We can start taking a look at the results a little later. So we're passing in our Lua state, 0, Lua multret, and 0. So let's just take a look at the Lua documentation and see what those things are doing. I trust this is probably the right thing to do, but Lua pcall calls a function in protected mode. So the first argument is your state. The second one is the number of arguments. Third one is the number of results. And the fourth one is message H. Oh, okay, so this relates to how the error object is handled. Okay, so both inargs and inResults have the same meaning as in Lua call. What are those meanings? The function results are pushed onto the stack when the function returns. The number of results is adjusted to inResults unless the results is Lua multret. In this case, all results from the function are pushed. Lua takes care that the return values fit into the stack space, but it does not ensure that any extra space on the stack, the function results are pushed onto the stack in direct order, so that after the call, the last result is on the top of the stack. So we need to figure out what Lua multret is, because it's probably either defined in a define or in a enum, and we can't directly use either of those in Pony, so we need to know what the actual value is. So let's look in our Lua directory. It's defined with a define here as -1. So let's pass a -1 here. Okay. Let's rebuild. Oh. Unexpected semicolon, only used to separate expressions on the same line. I have a semicolon in my code. I should not. I copied it from C. That's what I get. So delete the semicolon. Go back and build again. Cannot pass number literals as unchecked FFI arguments. Okay. So we're passing these numbers here. So there's a couple of things that we could do here. One is we could come up to the top and we could say use Lua pcall 32, and we could just tell it that x is a pointer u8. Y is an I32, Z is an I32, A is an I32. So this is one option. This will give the compiler a signature to use so that it knows what types each of these arguments is. Okay. And it can't find Lua pcall. But now we know what to look for because we're thinking about things in terms of what's the actual function. So I think that if we look, we're going to find out that Lua pcall is also defined in a defined statement, and yeah, so it's actually short for Lua pcall k, which passes the arguments and a 0 and a null. Okay, so instead of using Lua pcall, use Lua pcall k, and it takes I32 and a pointer u8, and we're going to pass last two arguments of 0 and pointer u8. And this way our call matches what the original call to Lua pcall would get turned into in C. To make sure we're calling the right thing. Okay, now I guess it's always possible that Lua pcall k is then defined via a define, but let's hope not. Okay. And there we go. So yeah, so the takeaway here is when you are using C, you'll end up sometimes running into things that look like functions but are actually macros. And because the macro doesn't show up as a symbol in the library, you have to go and hunt down what exactly is being called. And so it's not the end of the world, but you have to be kind of ready to deal with this. And if you haven't dealt with it before, it can kind of be a surprise. So if you get that undefined symbols for architecture, don't panic. Open up the .h file and try to figure out what you're supposed to be calling instead. So yeah, that can be, it can be really frustrating when you are getting started. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, hey, what is happening here? And I've had to help them hunt down macros. Eventually you get used to seeing this, and then it's just a little annoying because you know that now you have to dig through an H file to figure out what's actually being done. But not the end of the world. You can do this. Cool. All right, so it's kind of neat. We could poke around a little further, but I think that this gives people a good taste of kind of how you might use Lua from Pony. So let's maybe just take a look at something else. Let's take a look at XML lib. That's one of those that people seem kind of interested in doing, and that I've actually played around with a little bit. Let's just kind of start looking at what we might want to do to get that to work. So set up our program. I need to turn this pony mode off until I can figure out how to get it to indent properly. So okay, let's go find ourselves a libxml example. Just Start over with a new browser here. So, well, let's maybe start here and see how far we can get. All right. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Just taking a look at this to see if there's anything too wild that we're going to have to do to try to get this to work. Yeah, probably. Let's go ahead and dive in and see how this goes, shall we? Move the camera a little so you get the full cat experience here. There you go. Okay. All right. Start at the start. So the first thing this program does is it calls this stream file. So let's not worry about breaking this up into functions, but let's see if we can call XML reader for file. So let's just kind of do this one step at a time. We want a pony version of this, and let's get the file name. So again, we'll do this try else check. We'll get the first argument. Otherwise, we bail out. And reader equals @XML reader for file. So just call this pointer U8. File name. So if you remember from previous example, this file name is a pony string, so we want to get a C string equivalent. So null, we want pointer U8, that'll give us a null pointer. Okay, and now the last argument here is XML parse DTD attribute, parse no entity, parse DTD valid. So these are all getting ORed together. So these are all going to be defined as macros somewhere, and let's start digging those up. So we want to look in user local lib, oh no, sorry, include. Maybe not. User include, probably, yeah, maybe that's it. Shoot, I've done this before. User included, okay. All right. And I upgraded my OS not too long ago, so great. I'm wondering now if I don't have these files. Okay, so I've got libxml at least. Fine, let's go to the internet. There we go. That wasn't so bad. Okay, so that's 8. Or parse noint is 2. Or DTD valid is 16. Cool. Okay, and is there an enum? I think I can get away with passing that as an I32 here. Okay, so instead of defining the types for this thing up at the top, I'm just going to do this all in line. So in this case, because the compiler doesn't know what type we want for 8, 12, 8, 2, and 16, I'm just going to tell it that this is an I32. And it'll see that and pass it off as an I32. So, cross our fingers. Library not found for XML. User lib XML2. Okay, so I need to call it, I need up here to say XML2. Easy enough. Try building that again. Cool. All right, let's just run it, and so we should have an XML file to parse, shouldn't we? this will work. And we're not really doing anything yet, so this shouldn't do anything, but it shouldn't crash. Yay, it doesn't crash. All right, great. So far, so good. All right, what do we do next? We let's see, we got our XML reader for file. And I guess make sure it's not null. What's the call? Is it? I think it's is null. Yeah, that makes sense. So if it's null, then let's just exit out here. It's gonna copy this chunk. And if it's not null, then let's read. Okay, have an @ sign here because this is a FFI call. Ret looks like it's probably going to be something like in I32, so let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, it's an int. Cool. Get rid of that semicolon. Let's see here. While ret equals 1. Okay, so we're going to keep reusing the value of ret, so we're just going to make this a var. And then we're going to call process node and then call XML text reader read again, I32. So what the heck, let's write our own process node. Let's just make this another method in main. Fun process node. Doesn't return anything. Cool. And it takes one argument, which is pointer to a U8. So far, so good. Okay. So what should we be doing up here in process node? So this is going to be returning name, which is a const XML char. We could go look that up, but I think we can get away with just calling that a pointer to a character. Pointer U8. We give it reader. And let's go ahead and just turn this into a pony string while we're here. So we want copy C pointer. This creates a string by copying, copy C string. This creates a string by copying a null terminated C string. So for lack of a better thing to do, let's just do that. And let's see. So that's going to give us a string ref. Let's not even worry about that for right now. Let's just go ahead and throw in some debugging here and see if we can get it to tell us what the name is. Unexpected semicolon. So I forgot to remove a semicolon. Pony doesn't like that. Cool. Document is empty. This XML file does not appear to have any style information associated with it. Oh, what the hell am I doing? Great, because I was not smart and I copied the whole thing. Okay. Somebody should have caught me on that. Blame you all. All right, let's try this. Okay, validity error, validation failed, no DTD found, which, to be fair, is exactly correct. There wasn't a DTD, but then we printed some other stuff out, so yay to that. All right, if I recall correctly, I think that if we go to examples, there is an example file that they want us to use for this. Input output. Or maybe we can find an example with a DTD. Why is this thing making it so unpleasant? Okay. Oh, that's cool. All right. So Yep. Thanks, Brian. All right, let's go back to looking at this code that we are shamelessly copying. What next? If name equals null, bad cast. Or what if we just ignore that for now? Yeah, I like that idea. Let's do that. So this also returns a string, so same thing here. Okay, so now we've got a name and a value. And now we can do something like this. Let's just dump this in so that we know what we're trying to do. Get the depth. Going to get is empty, I guess we'll call this. Oh, right. Node type. And has value. Okay, so let's just print these out. Should be able to do this. So I'm going to use a join and just print these values out by sticking them into an array. And join takes an iterator, so we need to get an iterator from the array. That should all work. Let's build again. Couldn't find value in array. Oh, okay. So it's values, not value, to get the iterator. Okay, let's try that again. There's some stuff. Exciting. I guess we can print the value if it's there. Hey, let's even do it in line here. So yeah, the thing about arrays in Pony is you can separate elements with either a semicolon or with just a new line, which is kind of good in some ways, and in other ways it's kind of annoying because if you, yeah, it's never great to have two ways to do a thing. But we can say, let's see if value is null, then oh, yeah. I guess we just want to say if value, you know, we can just print value. It's either empty or it's not. Cool. Don't even have to do anything magic. Okay, so what else does this program do? It just figures out a fancy way to print the value. Then once we're here, we're checking to see if it's valid. And then we free our reader. Sure, we can do this. Yeah. File name in there. Then we call XML free text reader. And that doesn't return anything. Okay, let's compile it. Oh, semicolon. Always with the semicolons. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. That's a start to how we would use libxml. And yeah, so I think I'm gonna call it quits about now, but hopefully you've gotten a better idea of some of the things that you'd have to do to use a third-party C library from Pony. Again, the big things are usually, oh, I can't find this symbol. Okay, now I need to dig through the header files and figure out what macro is being used and what's under the macro. You saw how to use some pointers, get some null pointers if you need to, get some pointers back from functions. You saw how to pass different types of arguments and how to handle things like strings. And so hopefully that was useful. So I look forward to people starting to wrap more C libraries for Pony and getting more out of their Pony experience. Now you can't use, oh, there's not a library for this as an excuse to not use Pony, because if there's a C library for it, hey, great. What about passing structs? So talked a little bit about structs in the previous two streams. So if you want to take a look at those, you hopefully can get an idea of what needs to be done there. Cool. Yeah, I hope that. Sorry, I don't mean to blow you off. I just need to go and do some other stuff. But hopefully that helps. And if you still have questions, join us in the Pony Slack or the Pony IRC, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.